Hey, Go Cotton Giants family, your host, Eric Coffie. In today's video, we're discussing interesting people who won federal contracts. That's right, interesting people who won federal contracts. And you've probably heard of Lockheed Martin, right? Nothing new here. Lockheed Martin is one of the largest federal contracting companies in the world, doing all kind of really interesting things like building the stealth bomber and jets and weapon systems and things of that sort. Nothing new here. SpaceX, right? SpaceX is a newcomer to the marketplace, but since they've come into the federal arena, they started building rocket ships and sending satellites up in there. And so they have been winning the race to space with NASA in particular, giving them really substantial contracts in the federal arena. Nothing strange there. And then we have Crowley. It's probably not anyone that's watching this channel that has not seen a Crowley truck on the road. They by far have almost a monopoly on the fleet and transportation contracts coming out of the Department of Defense and probably most other agencies as well. However, on a good positive note, Crowley actually, I was speaking to a student today who actually watched one of my videos from about a year ago or 2 years ago where we discussed the Crowley contract. He has a logistics company. Actually, he's just really a truck driver. But more importantly, he told me and described to me how he actually won a subcontract with Crowley. So if you're a trucker and you're listening to this, make sure to find out how do you get registered to work with Crowley, because we did have a student today that literally discussed with me actually winning a subcontract agreement. And my recommendation to him was to actually, instead of being just a truck driver with one truck, is actually putting together a logistics company and creating an alliance of trucks so that he can actually serve them on a big level. But that's not the point of today's video. Today, we want to discuss a newcomer into the marketplace, Kevin McCarthy. That's right, Kevin McCarthy. You've probably heard of him. If you have not heard of him, don't worry, we've got him here. He was the former House Majority Leader of the Republican Party. He actually, let's go back to finding out a little bit more about Kevin McCarthy. He's a congressman. He serves California's 23rd district, and he's currently the Republican leader of the House of Representatives. This is his page here discussing all things Kevin McCarthy. And more importantly, you've probably heard about him in the news recently, discussing the January 6th commission, which, again, as an interest of this particular topic or conversation, but he's talking about turn over the records for January 6th. But the reason why we're on today is because Kevin McCarthy's family actually benefited from some of the very same programs that we teach. That's right. So some of the same programs that we teach on this channel, his family actually benefited from those programs back in the early 2000s. So let's get into this LA Times article discussing how House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy's family benefit from U.S. programs aimed for minorities based on disputed ancestry. So where it all begins is William Wages, who's the principal owner of a company named Vortex out of Bakersfield, claimed that he was 1/8 Cherokee Indian, which allowed him to win set-aside contracts for minorities. Wages is the brother-in-law of House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Some of you might be saying, well, yeah, this is an old article from 2018. That's correct. But again, remember, the point of the story is the fact that we are sharing how all types of people have benefited from the very same programs that you are now just learning about and discovering. There are people who have been doing this for a very long time. And so one of those people happens to be the guy that's currently the hot topic of so many newscasts and news stories, recent events. In fact, let's just jump over here and watch one of the things that he's discussing.
I know you think stop it, and whether it's going to be possible to stop it. What do you think?
Well, I think prior to this, I thought it was possible to stop it. When you listen to 10 Democrats who said they would not move forward the budget without first voting on the transportation bill. They stayed late into the night. And think about the timing when this took place. We never should have been debating the budget at this moment. While Afghanistan was falling, while Americans are stuck there, while young Afghans were falling, clinging to our airplanes, this is what they were focused upon. This is what they had President Biden calling twisting arms. And at the end of the day, we found there was not one Democrat to stand up. And it wasn't 3.5 they voted for, it was nearly $5 trillion they just voted for this week. So
And so that's Kevin's take on the new plan that actually today has been implemented. That's him discussing how he felt about this particular plan, which is interesting considering that old Kevin here and his family decided that let's go back in history and let's pull up the chart says, back in the early 2000s, they thought that federal contracting served them well. And so again, we see here how Vortex Construction, this is a handy dandy timeline that the Los Angeles Times put together. It shows them actually winning contracts. So it's 1 million, 1.1, 1.8, 1.3, 1.8. And then they did a joint venture with the company J. Leon Construction and won some more contracts. But what's interesting that I like about the article and the reason why we decided to have it as a topic of conversation is because it says here, Vortex Construction, whose principal owner is William Wages, the brother of McCarthy's wife, received a total of $7.6 million in no bid and other prime federal contracts since 2000. And if we know anything about no bid contracts, watching here on my channel, I'm sure that some of us are probably scratching our head and saying, Eric, wait a second. No bid contracts, what are we talking about, right? So I want those people out there, the smart people that watch us all the time, what type of contracts are there when they say no bid contracts? Anyone has a guess? Take a guess, take a guess, take a guess, take a guess. All right, I'm going to give you some more hints. Let's jump back over here to the screen. Remember, they said there were minority contracts or no bid contracts. Let's read a little bit into the article and see if you can figure it out. I'm not going to give you a hint. I'm going to see who can figure this out. No competitive bid contracts. They were because of the Small Business Administration Wages claim in 1998 that he was a Cherokee Indian. On the SBA program, he became eligible for federal contracts set aside for economically and disadvantaged members of minority groups. All right. With that said, does anybody have an idea of what that can be? Remember, they said that he claimed that he was Cherokee Indian, and so he qualified for an SBA program. And under that SBA program, it says that you are eligible for set-aside contracts economically and socially disadvantaged members of minority groups. Anybody have an idea what program are we talking about? No, not yet. Maybe, yes. Anyone want to take a guess? My smart people out there, they kind of figured this out by now. All right, so Wages says he's won a Cherokee Indian examination of records. Doubt that claim. He's a member of a group called Northern Cherokee Nation, which has no federal or state recognition as a legitimate tribe. Oof. Considered a fraud by leaders of other tribes having federal recognitions. They were awarded more than $4 million in minority set-aside contracts for projects at China Lake. McCarthy has been a staunch advocate in Congress for funding and staffing in China Lake. No surprise there. And spearheaded successful efforts to expand its borders. McCarthy is no ordinary member of Congress, but one of the most powerful officials in California and on the national stage. All right. The contracts obtained by Wages, his brother-in-law, says here, company have prompted questions about whether he improperly benefited from being his brother-in-law. In fact, the investigation looked into this matter, and it says there was an interview with the Vortex company. Wages said he did nothing wrong, followed the SBA's rules, and getting certified into the minority contracting program. People, who out there wants to guess what program are we discussing? Minority contracting program, economic advantages, socially disadvantaged program, SBA involved, set aside contracts. Come on, where are my folks? Where are my smart people out here? Anybody want to take a guess? All right, I'm gonna keep going on this article. Okay, all right. This is the timeline they went by. It discussed the ethics watchdogs, felt there was some foul play. Okay, they did an investigation, influenced contract awards to determine whether he knew about his brother's participation in minority contracting program. There's a direct and symbiotic connection between who McCarthy is and what he does and what his brother-in-law does. And again, I'm not going to get into the politics of the article. I find it fascinating that people who are on the national stage, who are also talking about these projects and plans at the same time are benefiting from the very same plans and the same monies that they're pretending to condemn publicly. So let's get into the matter. I want to give you one more guess Let's see. Keep going. The SBA, one of the things that was interesting about this article that I learned says the SBA did not require membership in a recognized tribe until 2011, which is about 3.5 years after he left the program. But the regulations did require applicants, if asked by the agency, to demonstrate that he or she has himself or herself is currently identified by others as Native American. All 3 Cherokee tribes with federal recognition consider the Northern Cherokee group legitimate. It's a con, as they stated. And again, we don't have to read the report. Now, let's go in. And this particular gentleman, who's the head of the tribal leaders, says it's disheartening to see this, as the Native Americans are the poorest people in the United States, and the poverty gets worse if there are abuses in the SBA program, he added. All right. Cherokee leaders said that the Northern Cherokee group is one of those masquerading as bona fide tribes. Chuck Huskin, Secretary of the State for the Cherokee Nation, said it is particularly disturbing when minority set-aside contracts are granted to members of a group that is posing as a tribe. All right, this goes into articles about McCarthy. All right, this Vortex entered SBA program in 1998 during the Clinton administration. And this is the last hint, all right? All of my smart people, this is the last hint. Let's see if you put it together. This is the last hint. All right, you stick with me on this one. They entered the program in 1998 during the Clinton administration and participated in it for 9 years. The maximum allowed. All right. At this point, we've got minority program, which again, I don't call it minority, but the article wrote minority. We've got economically and socially disadvantaged. We have the SBA. We've got set-aside contracts, and we have 9 years. Anybody want to take a guess of the program that he participated in? Anyone want to take a guess? All right. I got you. Don't worry. I got you. Bam! The 8A BD program. All right. So interesting enough, when I read the article, I was like, wait a second. I know that program, man. I know exactly what they're talking about, the 8A BD program. So it's interesting because, again, all of the people that are watching this, participating, that are looking at my channel, are probably very new to even learning about these programs and what they are. However, we've got people that are serving in Congress that are very well aware of these programs and that benefited from these programs early on in their careers, and their family benefited from these programs. So let's go in and let's talk about the 8A program and the requirements. And we know that you have to be socially disadvantaged and economically disadvantaged. And so what does that mean? If you're socially disadvantaged, you've got to be a member of one of these designated groups, or, and it says here, socially disadvantaged individuals are those who have been subjected to racial or ethnic prejudice or cultural bias within American society because of their identities as members of groups and without regard to their individual qualities. The social disadvantage must stem from circumstances beyond their control. So the person who put this together was really super smart person who wrote the rules to these programs. And then here, when we go into discussing what it is to be economically disadvantaged, it discusses your net worth requirements, different funds, investment, personal net worth, and the personal income over the last 3 years. And so that's what it means to be both socially disadvantaged and economically disadvantaged. And then here it talks about being ownership of 51% owned by a U.S. citizen who represent those two categories. And clearly from this article, there was some alleged discrepancies that they couldn't prove. So going in a little bit further, we've now figured out that it was in fact the 8A program that they were a part of. And I'm sure you're probably like scratching your head saying, I don't really get it. I don't understand. Like, how is this possible that this is something that is brand new to all of you out there and all of us, but yet these people have been benefiting from these programs designed with the intention of helping and serving those that are less fortunate or misfortunate for that case, and they have been abusing these programs. No surprise to me. Only surprised that they actually used a program that is such a coveted program. And now for so many of us, it's so difficult to get in. The application is long. They reject people for minor infractions. And yet these people somehow managed to get into the program. I want to touch on a couple things before we sign off on this video today. It's really interesting because as I was reading this, it says that McCarthy said he did not help wages qualify for the program or obtain set-aside contracts, and said he had not discussed wages membership in the North Cherokee group with him. Interesting. Okay, that's your wife, and this is your brother-in-law, excuse me. He's not aware of the program's qualification process, but have no reason to doubt that Bill and the SBA execute the process fairly in accordance with the program standards. Fair enough. Great answer. After the Times asked SBA records, this is the part I really want to show you. After the LA Times asked the SBA for records on Vortex under the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, McCarthy said Bill reached out to their family for guidance. I put Bill in touch with my counsel, referred him to a separate law firm that specializes in FOIA compliance. This is the law firm. Members of Congress generally do not vote directly on contracts awarded. And then what happens, it gets really hairy down here. And it goes on to say, forget all the DNA testing things. I'm not really concerned about that. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. In response, let me put this up on the big screen. In response to the Freedom of Information Act request, the SBA office in Fresno, which covers Bakersfield, says that wages the applicant previously had been destroyed as part of the agency's normal purging of older documents. So they didn't have the information anymore. Pobrecito. So it's gone now. And then it gets even better because where is it at? Let me find it in the article. Where is it at? Here it is. All right, so here it is right here. Following the Times inquiries, the designation of Vortex as a Native American-owned company was also removed from the SBA's public database. SBA officials declined to say who made the change or why to answer the questions. So I thought that was really interesting that they actually went as far as to remove their designation from them. However, the beautiful thing is because we understand how to use and navigate the government marketplace, I decided to do some digging of my own. And so I went into the handy dandy website, FPDS, and I typed in Vortex, right? Easy enough. And it pulled up this particular document here. And so when I pull up the document, you can easily see Vortex contracts, Vortex construction. I want to make sure because this does say Bakersfield, and we know the article mentioned Bakersfield. So if I click view to view this, it has all their information there. And if you look it up, they can delete it from the SBA records. But when you pulled it up here, it says, this was an 8A sole source contract. You see that? All right. This one doesn't state it. Let's go to the next one. Let's go back to this next one. So we go to this Vortex. All right. I thought this was interesting. Okay, here it is. So this particular one is a little bit different description. And this one says here, Native American, right? Because this is records that's already in the government profile. So they can purge it from the SBA, but these FPDS is historical data. They can't go back and do it. So this shows them still being Native American. And then I went a little bit further because I'm a bad boy. And I actually put their dumbest number into a search, pulled up their cage report, and it shows here Bakersfield, California, William wages, and you can see that it's all ties in together. So I didn't just take what people gave me. I actually wanted to go out and dig and find the information myself. So I definitely, I thought it was interesting because my man, Kevin McCarthy, let's just show you here.
Thank you for coming on short notice. Speaker Pelosi has taken the unprecedented step of denying the minority party's picks for the Select Committee on January 6th. This represents something that has not happened in the House before for a Select Committee by the historian. It's an egregious abuse of power.
Hey, my man, Kevin, listen, all I can say, more power to you, baby. I got no problems with Kevin McCarthy. All I'm saying is that these programs are designed for people to get a leg up, a step up, to come up, to be better, to grow their business, build their business. So again, if you are not taking advantage of it, it's your loss. We teach you how to do that step-by-step programs in our courses and our communities. So again, if you want to come and play in the big leagues with the big boys, click on govconeric.com/join to find out more information. Thank you.